What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to JK Productions. Got my friend Donovan here again on the pod. Today, we're going to be talking about our fantasy football league a little bit, some things that we'd like to discuss. And if you guys haven't watched the video that I just posted yesterday about our draft lottery, I think that was really funny. Would you agree?
It was hilarious. Go watch it. You can see who gets the number one overall pick.
Really? I wonder who that was.
I wonder who it was. Maybe it was someone that was number 12 last year.
Yeah.
And be on the lookout for some backgrounds.
Yeah, this guy right here was fortunate or unfortunate. I don't really want the number one overall pick. So
I normally don't. And I actually have a really bad history with the number one overall pick. So, in my other fantasy league, my family league, where we have outrageous points.
It's so stupid.
I'm not disagreeing.
Go ahead, whatever. I'm not
disagreeing. We're not gonna just know it has a ridiculous point system where quarterbacks get like almost 100 points.
Yeah, your dad. Jeez.
I'm not going to talk about that. But yeah, so in that league, back-to-back years, I had the number one overall pick. I think I selected Adrian Peterson in both. This is talking about way back, like after he had his MVP season. Drafted him back-to-back years, number one overall pick, and he missed pretty much 90% of those games. It's kind of like if you drafted CMC number one overall the last 2 years.
Yeah, I definitely didn't just draft CMC in our Dynasty League, and I might draft him again in our regular league.
Yeah, but didn't you get him in like the second? Oh, no, you traded up for number 7, I think.
I accidentally traded up. Didn't expect that to actually go through. It went through. Next thing you know, I have CMC.
Yeah. Well, I think you kind of like traded up because you saw I traded up. So you're like.
Well, you told me that the guy was looking to make a deal.
He was.
So I was like, screw it. Swap first, so it was a 6 pick. It was 6 and 9, and then swap 4.
6.
Was it?
I picked Cup with the 6th pick.
I thought you picked him with the 5th pick.
I traded up for the 6th because the 5th pick was, I think, Mixon.
Whatever it was, you traded up, and then you told me that the picks available. So I was like, okay, swap first, swap 4th, swap 8th. So the 4th and the 8th help him. Swapping the 1st helped me. I didn't really expect it to go through. Next thing you know, I'm on the clock. I'm like,
oh shit.
I'm at work. I'm like, I don't even know who I want. I'm like, Joe, I'll be right back. He's running the front. I literally walk outside. I would check the phone. I'm just staring at my screen. I still don't know. I walked back inside, asked him. He's like, I don't know, bro. I walk outside. I'm like, screw it. I don't even know these people. CMC.
I still would have gone with CD, and I know you're kind of regretting not going with CD now.
Yeah, in hindsight, CD in a Dynasty League first round, that would have been really good. But I do have CMC. I do have Derrick Henry. So those two guys can be like my workhorse backs for like 4 years.
Yeah. And I mean, you have a through and through really consistent roster. Like your bench is like pretty good and your starters are pretty good.
It's very win now though.
Yeah, I mean, well, my team is too. I traded like all of my late round picks or mid round picks to trade up to get, some badass starters.
Wasn't there like a point where you're gonna have like 4 or something rounds straight of no picks because
I did have 4 rounds of no picks.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, that was I traded away pretty much the 11th round through like the 16th. Yeah,
that's a bit much.
Yeah, and we had 20 rounds.
20 rounds that were 8 hours each.
8 hours each. Some people took a really long time.
I understand. We have somebody in Australia. Like, I understand you want to be conscientious to him because he's on a completely different timetable over there.
But he was the one not having the issue.
Yeah,
it was the guy that was friends with the person that runs the league.
He's at work. He's like, I can't check my phone. 3 hours later, okay, pick. Every single time.
And then he would be right back on the clock because he had it was like the end of the round and the beginning of the round. So he had, I think it was the 10th and then
he had the 11th. He had the 11th and
so
then on the flip side.
So he had 11th and 2nd of each round.
Yeah.
So so
that chat was like
so mad at him.
His at.
So mad at him because
STX Cross or whatever his name is.
Yeah. But all in all, I'm really happy with my team. I think me and you and Denver, there's a guy named Denver G in the league. I think we have the 3 best rosters.
Because we all win now. Like you see, like so C. Wagner, he's like the commissioner. He went very young.
Very
He went
young.
very, very, like he went Brees Hall, Kyle
Yeah.
Pitts with his first 2 picks or something like that. And that could pay out, but you're in the dynasty league that is going to span over the next few years, or who knows how many years. So it makes
Mhm.
sense. But I have four of my starters are in their 20s. I have
Yeah.
CMC, I have Jerry Judy, I have Goddard, and I have Debo. I mean, who knows what happens to Debo this year, but I have 4 guys in my starting lineup that are in their 20s. So it's not like I'm drafting all old players. It's not like I have Tom Brady as my starting quarterback. Russell Wilson, my starting quarterback, can be my quarterback for 8 years.
Probably, yeah.
And then as Jerry
least.
Judy, I have that stack.
And then I have Dak, I have Cooper Kupp. I mean, Cooper Kupp, like, okay, yeah, he's what, 30, 32?
Yeah, something like that.
He still has, 3-4 years left.
He just kind of popped off on the scene this year, so he feels like he's younger than he is.
Yeah, but I mean, he's been low key like a solid wide receiver too for the past like 3 years. But prior to his ACL injury, he was even good.
No, he was. He was.
And I have I forgot who the rest of my starters are. I know I have Gesicki in there, but that's literally no, I don't actually have Gesicki. I have Kittle.
Yeah, I talked you into that one.
You did, because I think it was between Kittle and another wide receiver. But I also picked Allen Lazard. I have Adam Thielen. So Lazard is young. Thielen a little bit older.
Definitely older.
But that's more of like a win now pick. I have Waddle, and who's my other receiver? I have another starting receiver.
I don't know.
Yeah,
my wide receivers are sick though. I have Amari Cooper, who when Deshaun eventually starts playing, he's gonna be popping off for the next 4 or 5 years. Amon-Ra is on my bench. Jerry Judy.
I love the Amon-Ra.
Yeah, you really talked me into that one. Debo. I feel somebody else I can't think off the top of my head. Combining Jerry Judy with Russell Wilson, I'm so happy with.
Yeah, so I mean, my lineup is Joe Burrow, Nick Chubb, Josh Jacobs, Cooper Kupp, Jalen Waddle, George Kittle, Adam Thielen. I do have 2 defenses. I'm like the only team that actually has 2 defenses. Honestly, in a dynasty league, I feel like defenses are kind of irrelevant. I think we probably could have gone individual defensive players, which I've never done that before. I'm interested in doing that in a league to see actually how it plays out, but I think a dynasty league would be more of a fit for that.
Would you be interested in I'm just kind of thinking on the spot here. Would you be interested in our friends league to have no defenses or kickers?
I mean, I don't mind that, but
that's not something I posed out. Like they shot down the 3 wide receivers, shot down the superflex, shot down other stuff, but I don't think anybody would necessarily argue against that. No one cares about defense and kickers.
Yeah, I mean,
nobody cares.
You got a point, but sometimes defense can absolutely pop off. But really, if you have outside a top 5 defense, you're really not going to get anything above 8 points, 10 points a game, and that's really what's that going to do for you? How many games?
I had the Patriots defense 2 years ago when they were on the regular scoring 20 points. That was great.
That was ridiculous.
I mean it sucks. Their best game was against the Dolphins week 2.
Yeah.
When they just beat the snot out of us.
Dolphins week 2 just don't have good luck.
Oh yeah, back-to-back years, Bills, Patriots.
Oof.
It wasn't back-to-back years. That was 3. That was 2 out of 3 years. So that was 3 years ago.
But we have Ravens this year. I mean, we'll talk about that later. But yeah, but getting back into our league, I mean, our friends league, I'm really, really excited. I mean, like I said, I don't have a lot of luck with the first overall pick, but I have a good feeling about JT. And then I feel like I have a good strategy with how deep the board is this year, especially with wide receivers. That I can, you've seen my mock drafts, how I've been drafting. My first 4 picks are pretty solid. And then after that, it's really just about kind of picking and choosing who you want to reach for, because when you have 23 picks in between your last pick and your next pick, it's kind of hard to just go in there and be like, oh, well, he should be there. And then it's like, oh, he got taken 10 picks ago.
It's so hard to rely on the mock drafts because people draft a lot less. They draft a lot more conservative.
Yeah.
They kind of just draft, like they know it's not their team. So it's kind of just, I want to see who's there. I'm not going to overreach, but then you have in real fantasy football where quarterbacks start coming off the board quick. And then obviously I don't think that's a good idea unless it's one of the, like a few guys like Herbert, Allen, Mahomes. But like once they start going, it's either you reach or you don't have a quarterback.
Yeah. And at that point, it's like, well, if I'm in the, top of the third round and quarterbacks started coming off the board in the late second, it's like, well, my next pick isn't until the bottom of the fourth.
What are you going to do?
So, I mean, by that time, all 12 starters are going to pretty much be gone.
But there are a few good guys beyond like the main, like there's a top 10 that includes like Russell Wilson, Hurts, Brady. But beyond that, Matt Stafford, there's a Matt Stafford. There's a Matt Ryan, I think would be a decent late round pick this year going into that Colts offense. Trey Lance has possibilities. So like you can kind of get away with letting the crowd take the quarterbacks and you just take the best players off the board.
I mean, and that's what I've been doing in the mock drafts when the quarterbacks do come off the board a little bit early. I've done quite a few now because I'm not really used to picking.
I've done so many.
I'm not used to picking that early. And then when it comes to my division, like I'm happy, but I'm sure I'm not as happy as you are. I mean, you have a cake division, bro.
So the Cream Team Fantasy Football League is going to be fun this year.
It is.
My division, especially, if you guys, like I said earlier, if you haven't watched that video, I really recommend going and watching the Cream Team Draft Lottery video because it was so fun. But last year, the Cream Team Fantasy Football League, that went really sour really quickly.
It did.
And
a few trades.
I'm really excited for our league this year.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I know you're excited having the first overall pick. You're going to get JT. I'm excited with my pick, having pick number 4. If I get Eckler or CMC, we were talking before, I don't want Cooper Kupp to fall down to me because I want a running back first. But I feel good. I feel good going into this year with this league.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't blame you. I mean, besides having the number 4 pick, which I really like that pick. So when we were going through the lottery, I'm like, I really want picks kind of like 6 through 8. Like those were the picks I want. Because I wanted somewhere in the middle of the round where I don't have to have 20 picks in between. But as soon as we got into the top 5, I'm like, well, there's a clear cut.
Might as well go for broke.
I want the number 1 overall pick. I mean, but 4 is not bad. You get one of the top 4 players. And I think we talked about this a little bit earlier. There's a pretty decent drop off after the top 4. So you kind of got in there, and then just your division. I mean, Mia, he's a casual, and he admits he's a casual, so it's not a diss.
And he still almost made the playoffs last year.
He did. He drafted really well for like not knowing anything.
Oh my gosh, he dumb lucked him with his way. Like Jalen Hurts, he drafted Najee. He drafted
he also had Justin Jefferson.
No, he had Jamar Chase.
Yeah, Jamar Chase, yes.
Just and then he dumb lucked his way into it.
And then he traded away like half his team.
Yeah,
that's kind of what made the whole league go sideways.
He missed out on the playoffs by losing to Adam the second last week of the year.
He had 2 wins the whole year.
Yeah, that was Adam's second win. Yeah. No, he had 3. He won the last 3 games. I'm pretty sure. That was the second game Adam had won all year long.
And then we did get rid of Rayon, so thank God we'll actually have someone active now.
Like that's my dog and all, but bro didn't even touch his lineup hardly at all.
Ever. And then you have Marcelo in your division. He's a good guy. He actually knows a lot more than we give him credit for.
Yeah.
But he questions himself so much. So it's be like that's what causes him to make his mistakes.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody has their flaws. And then
like Adam giving me Devontae Adams last year for a bag of chips.
Yes, that was one of them. Adam, I mean, he thought the Raiders were going to win the Super Bowl. So,
oh my gosh, yeah. Having him on the podcast and him tell me that they're the best team in the league, I wanted to go through the computer and strangle him.
Exactly, like that's my point. So everybody has their flaws. I mean, I think I know my shit a lot more than I probably do.
Yeah.
But I'm there, and then I think Tyrell has a similar issue, except he has a way bigger head and way bigger ego.
Yeah, and
And
I'm gonna get to battle off against that multiple times now.
multiple times. And so how the divisions work this year is that so we play 3 teams twice. That's why we have the 3 divisions. So now if you beat your division, you have a more of a chance to get into the playoffs. So now it's the top 6 teams.
It's it's a 12-team league, 3 division winners, and then the 3 best of the rest.
Yeah, 3 best of the rest. For whatever reason, I kept thinking that we still only had 4, but yeah. So it's the 3 best of the rest, and it's going to be a lot harder to win that now. To get into that wild card per se.
Well, I mean, we had the same amount of people last year, and we only had 4 spots. And there was like a group of you guys right outside the playoffs. You, Andrew, who eventually did make it. Nehemiah. Somebody who I'm surprised doesn't do as well in fantasy football is Jay.
I think it's because he literally has so many other leagues.
He never trades.
That's another thing is that he never
tried
tried.
once.
He tried once with me, and he tried with Marcelo, and then Marcelo went behind his back and asked everybody to veto the trade.
That is snake.
Snake-like
behavior.
That is snake-like behavior. And since then, Jay just does not trade with anyone. He actually got so pissed off that he traded me CMC for who was it? It was Tim Patrick.
That was 2 years ago.
That was 2 years ago.
That was something else he got pissed about.
Two years ago, it was kind of a shit show too. But
hopefully this year we can get through without wanting to kill each other.
But we have an established group chat now. We have people that should be active now.
Yeah.
Because that was the main thing, and it was that John and Brandon would literally only trade with each other.
Yeah, it got really annoying.
Chris wasn't that active. Rayon never was active.
Yeah. This year should be fun. I'm really, like I said before, I am really happy with the 4th overall pick. I want Andrew just to tell me who's he taking at 3, because like I can't influence his pick, right? So that would make my life so much easier. Hey, you're taking JT. Let's just say Nate takes Cooper Kupp. Let's just say, because I know you like to say like he's going to do something weird, but let's just say he takes Cooper Kupp, right? Andrew obviously has the option of CMC, Eckler, or Derrick Henry, right?
Mm-hmm.
I can't influence that. Like what I want means literally nothing, but he still won't tell me. Like, bro, just tell me who you're taking at 3. It makes my life so much easier.
But I kind of see, because even though you can't influence, he may see it as you might try to influence. Kind of like,
nah, he's smarter than that. Like, I'm not gonna.
I know you wouldn't do that.
Like last year, I had the 2nd overall pick in my Publix league, and I tried talking my friend into taking somebody else besides CMC. Now, obviously, in hindsight, I'm glad he took CMC. I didn't get stuck with him, even though I missed the playoffs. Anyways, Andrew, I couldn't do that to him. Like, Andrew's smart enough that if I say, "Oh, you should take Tua with the 2nd overall pick," like obviously, like he's not gonna do that. He knows his stuff. He's smart enough. Yeah. I'm not gonna be able to influence him one way or another, even if I tried like subliminally or not. So just tell me who you're taking, man. Like I don't need to know your 2nd round, 3rd round, 4th. I get holding your cards close to your chest because I'm trying to do the same thing. Like I get it. We're all in this game together. But the 3rd pick, I can't do anything about that. Make my life easier. I'm over here doing mock drafts. I'm like, I don't even know who I'm going to end up with. Because if I take Eckler, then I'm like, okay, I can't take Mike Williams. I can't take Keenan. Like, if I take CMC, I can't take
really
Keenan
weird
more.
about that. Like, I understand not wanting your lineup to have the whole bye week issue where, like, you have, your 3 of your starters are out in 1 week. I understand that. But, like, you're having 2 out in the same time. But you're, like, really weird about that because you don't want to rely heavily on one offense is your thing. Like you don't want to have an RB1 like Eckler and then a wide receiver 2 like Mike Williams on your team.
Yeah, because they're directly taking points away from each other. So if you hand the ball off to Eckler, Mike Williams is guaranteed not getting any points in that play. Or you pass the ball to Mike Williams, Eckler is guaranteed getting 0 points in that play. I understand like you say, it's a really good offense and you're pretty much guaranteed points in some nature, but you are just by simple mathematics, limiting yourself to the full potential points you can get. I'd rather take Eckler and in that same points range, same draft range, take I don't know, like Brandon Cooks or somebody like that who's on a different team who they're not directly taking points away from each other.
I mean, I understand that, but you can also look at it as oh, it's the end of the week in prime time and you have Eckler and Williams and you're like, give it to either of them and I'm good. Either of them and I'm good. And it's just, it doesn't. And then it's like, well, what if at the end of the game they can't run the ball? Or at the end of the game, all they're doing is running the ball? Then
either way, you're only one person per play is getting points.
I got that.
So I'd rather, Andrew, please. All this headache can be eliminated by me, because if I take CMC like DJ Moore, which I don't really want DJ Moore anyways, but that's still a thing. Somehow, maybe if I convince myself it's Derrick Henry, I'm not taking Robert Woods. Well, I probably wouldn't take anybody else on Tennessee anyways, but the point still stands. Like, I just want to know, bro, who are you taking at 3? Okay, this idiot's taking JT. Argument's sake, I'm just gonna imagine Cooper Kupp's not available when I pick. Whether Nate takes somebody else and then Andrew takes Cooper Kupp, I assume I'm not getting Cooper Kupp, which I know is weird to say I don't want him, but it is just because I don't want to wait that long for my RB1. I don't want to get stuck with like James Conner as my RB1.
Yeah, and I understand that. Yeah, because the way I'm looking at it, after I pick JT number 1 overall, my wide receiver 1's going to be really a wide receiver 2.
I mean, you could still end up with like Keenan Allen,
which I have in some mock drafts,
that's perfectly fine.
That's perfectly fine.
He finished as like the 9th best wide receiver in fantasy football, I believe,
which is technically a wide receiver 1.
That is fine.
And then I can get a strong wide receiver 2, obviously, if I choose to go back to back. But it really depends on who's on the board still. So I'm obviously going to go wide receiver with my 2nd or 3rd pick, but do I go double wide receiver? Do I go wide receiver running back? Do I go wide receiver tight end?
It all depends on what everybody else is going to do. It really depends on what everybody else is going to do, because
it really depends on what the board looks like, and that's my thing. Is like I've gone in like, okay, I'm going to draft 2 wide receivers, and then after I draft both wide receivers, I'm like, oh damn, that running back's still on the board. Yeah. I'm like, I could have had him, and I could have had 2 RB1s.
It's all fun and games when you're drafting mock drafts. Nothing actually matters, but then when you actually come down, it's that time. Who's Adam going to take? Who's Tyrell going to take? Who's Jay going to take? I mean, I could kind
Who's Nate going to take? That
is a mystery.
Because I haven't really talked to him about it, but the way I know him and the way we talk about NFL players, when we talk about actually just players in general, we don't really talk about players that are already in superstardom. We talk about the low-key players that are like, yo, this guy can pop off, or this guy will pop off.
But with the number 2 pick?
It wouldn't surprise me.
So what, is he going to take like Najee Harris for the 2nd pick?
No.
I mean, but he's ranked as player number 6 off the board. That would qualify. I mean, I kind of cross my fingers he does this. Obviously, I don't think that's a good idea based off the videos I've made about him and fantasy running backs as a whole. But when you have the number 2 pick, you're not taking the weird low-key guy. You're taking a banger, Cooper Kupp.
But I think if you're talking about the top 4, like the top 4, I think are pretty clear. It's JT, Eckler, Kupp, and Henry.
CMC. Oh, over Henry.
Yeah, you know what? I love Henry, but I'm not sure how that injury really affected him, because he did not look good in that playoff game. Now, I'm not sure if it's their offensive line just being absolute garbage, the team being absolute garbage.
Probably a little bit of both. Quarterback being garbage.
I wasn't going to say that, but that was implied in the team. But he just did not look good. Whereas CMC, whenever he comes back from his many injuries, he always looks sharp. But I think out of those 4, the low-key player would be Eckler.
Yeah. Well,
and that's why I think he's taking.
To an NFL casual, it is. To us, like, no, Eckler, I'd be comfortable taking him with 4. I'd be comfortable taking him at 3. 2, I think it has to go JT Kupp. I think it has to go that, because, I mean, Cooper Kupp is the best player, but he's not a running back.
Maybe I'll take Kupp.
Will you? No. Yeah, that's what I thought. He's not a running back.
I'm taking Saquon, though.
First overall? So, Tyrell, with your 5th pick, Saquon is a decent pick.
Bro, Saquon's looking sharp. You saw that one-handed catch? It looked like Odell.
5th overall pick.
5th overall pick, bro. You got this.
Bro, I knew he was going to do it last year. He had like a 6th pick last year. I knew he was going to be Saquon. Because everybody's like, I don't want it. Like I think Saquon's just like because for some reason he was like projected third
I'm
overall
not
pick.
biased.
He's just like I don't want it. I don't like wash my hands. I'm good. And Tyrell's like, give me
Bro, and Daniel Jones, he's gonna pop off this year if they're healthy.
second round pick.
Bro, that's
Galladay.
easily third. Bro, Galladay taking in the late
Take Evan
second.
Ingram, even though he's not on the team anymore.
Bro, he has bricks for hands, but he can catch touchdowns.
Yeah, maybe he will for Jacksonville. Probably not.
Well, I mean,
He's a decent backup.
obviously Trevor Lawrence is the better quarterback of the bunch, so I think.
But Daniel Jones, are you sure?
Yes.
Okay, fair enough. He's
He's
better than Tua.
Not
Yes, he is.
commenting.
Yes,
Not
he
commenting.
is.
I'm
He
not
is.
commenting. No
Tua.
comment.
He's better than Tua.
No comment.
And speaking Tua, we're going to move off the fantasy football, and I want to get into conversation. There's a lot of guys that are under pressure going to next season. A lot of coaches on the hot seat. Some quarterbacks that are kind of in pressure to succeed now. And obviously, the number one guy when it comes to pressure in the entire league is Tua. He's our guy. You support him way more than you should. You on record, well, not on record because nobody recorded it, but I think you did put it in the group chat. You said that he's the 14th best quarterback in the league.
Absolutely.
That is BS. And anybody watching this channel for the last 3 years knows I've been pounding the table for Tua. That is cap. Tua, no matter how you paint it, has struggled, whether it's been his fault, whether it's been the coaching staffs, whether it's been front office, whatever, he has struggled. And
not arguing.
The Dolphins, if they had taken, I mean, obviously, if he takes Justin Herbert, we're in a lot different of a space than if we did draft Tua. Tua has to succeed this year, or he's done. At least as the Dolphins quarterback, he's done. I'm sure he can find a backup role because he's a good person in the locker room. He's not controversial. He has a role to fill. But if he doesn't succeed this year, he's done as the Dolphins quarterback.
I don't disagree. I mean, even Tyreek Hill pretty much said it. The cap for quarterbacks, I mean, not everyone is going to be Tannehill and get 7 years to prove himself. And even then, he really didn't even prove himself until
ever.
He looked good in 2016, and then when he went on the Titans in his first 2 years with the Titans, he looked good then. Did not look good in the playoff game. However, if we're going to go back to Tua real quick, he's not going to get the 7 years. No. He's gonna. This is his third year with a coach that is for him. And this is it. And Steve Ross has been an impatient man. That's why he almost traded for Watson last year. I don't give a flying, to whoever can say otherwise that it was Flores, it was Greer. No, it was Stephen Ross. As soon as Watson became available, that was who he pounded the table for. He stayed away like he said he was going to do until that happened. And then that kind of bombshelled the team last year.
And not just that, and then you move on to the offseason and they try to get Tom Brady again, and again it fails when the Brian Flores lawsuit comes out. So they had really no choice but to support Tua, and they have done that. They've given him the offensive weapons. They brought in Tyreek Hill, they brought over Cedric Wilson, Chase Edmonds, Raheem Mostert, got themselves an offensive coach, gave him a better offensive line, Connor Williams, Terrell Armstead. They've done the right things to support him. Now it's time for him to succeed. And is the situation perfect? No, because you do have a rookie head coach that, we think is going to succeed, but he's still a rookie head coach, unproven. We don't know. There are some other circumstances that you could give him a little bit of excuse. The offensive line, while it's improved, is still PFF 20th ranked offensive line, still not in the top half of the league. But you've done so much to support him this year. You've seen enough from him to question in the last few seasons whether it's worth moving off of him or not. Now it's at the point, it's on him to succeed. Not everybody's given a perfect situation, and he's been given a lot here. So if he doesn't succeed, that pressure is going to be too hot.
And you know what? He's always been the guy that keep a cool head and not really let the moment get to him. And like you said, we've seen it, the glimpses of just mastery of him being able to do what he did in college, but it's not enough. He needs to do that on a consistent basis. I think he can with an improved offensive line and like you said, we think Mike McDaniel is the guy for Tua. However, he's never called plays before. He's been a part of the game plan. He was the offensive coordinator, but Kyle Shanahan is the one that called the plays.
Mm-hmm.
So how is that going to work out with Mike McDaniel calling the plays for Tua? I know there's Mike McDaniel said in the press conference that he's been on the walkie-talkie with Tua so they can get how he sounds in the helmet and everything else. They can get that down packed, make sure everything gets across clear as day. And everybody is kind of like behind Tua. I mean, Tyreek Hill has been a massive supporter throughout this entire offseason. Going as far as to say he's the most accurate quarterback in the league,
which I don't believe that's true either. But
I'm not gonna say it's not true, but I haven't seen it to be true.
Yeah, they've done it on the field with all this support. They're doing it off the field by supporting him. That you have no choice. You really, really have no choice. I hope he works, and we're going to talk about the Dolphins a little bit more later. I really hope he works, but if he doesn't, it's going to be bad for him. Mm-hmm. Another guy it's going to be bad for if he doesn't succeed. Mike McCarthy, coach of the Dallas Cowboys, was really spoon-fed the first majority of his career, having Aaron Rodgers, having all that talent, and only won one Super Bowl, and a lot of questions we made of him. You look how the Cowboys season ended last year, it really does paint the picture of Mike McCarthy's career. Decision-making issues and time management issues. That's how, of course, they lost the playoff games to the 49ers. The division isn't always going to be this bad. The Philadelphia Eagles have done a lot to improve over the last few years. They now have the best offensive line in football. They have a great receiving core, adding A.J. Brown from the Titans. Of course, they have Devonta Smith that they drafted last year. Washington is kind of, nickel and diming, fixing with duct tape with their quarterback situation. Eventually, they're going to make it work. The Giants just got a new head coach that should work. And if they choose to move off Daniel Jones, or if Daniel Jones works, I do believe the Giants are going to be going in a good direction. The Cowboys aren't always going to have this easy of a time in the division. And Mike McCarthy did squander their time last year. He won the division, however, losing the first round of the playoffs. Mike McCarthy has to be on the hottest coach going into this year in terms of on the hot seat.
I 100% agree with you. And there was reports that he might even be fired this offseason in favor of Kellen Moore. But I think that Kellen Moore decided he was a little bit needed more experience before he goes to be a head coach. He did have interviews with other teams, of course. But I mean, that he's right there knocking on the door for Mike McCarthy's job. And then you have to also figure, how is he going to fare now that they lost Amari Cooper? They lost Cedric Wilson.
Yeah.
I mean, they have Zeke, who they're paying a lot of money to. They have Dak, who they're paying a lot of money to. But I think we can both agree that both of those guys are overrated. Neither of them are top 5.
Dak's not overrated to the extent you think he's overrated, because that conversation we had a few days ago.
We don't need to get into that.
Or was it a week ago even? That was blasphemous takes. This man, what did you say? How bad did you say he was? Like the amount of quarterbacks you said are better. You said Tua is better than him. That's not true.
Kirk
Cousins better than him. If you want to argue that, I can't really put too much of an argument about what I'm saying. Matt Ryan's not better than him today. He's a top 15 quarterback.
No.
Yes, that's all we need to hear. He's a top 15 quarterback. But Dak is still a good quarterback who's won a playoff game before. Cowboys have succeeded. The offense has looked nice, but as you pointed out, they lose Cedric, Amari Cooper, Lyle Collins. Big piece of the offensive line is gone, but they still have
Connor Williams too.
Connor Williams, and they still do have a PFF top 10 offensive line. They still have Dak. CD's an emerging talent. Zeke is, albeit overrated. He has done well in spurts. Even last year, he had spurts where he did well. Tony Pollard's a pretty decent backup. Micah Parsons, defensive rookie of the year last year.
I mean, he was clawing for that defensive player of the year.
Yeah. So that team is by no means bad in that division. They should still be the best team in that division. If they do anything short of winning the division, it is a failure. And then on top of that, they have to go out and win playoff games. Jerry Jones is Jerry Jones. He's an impatient businessman, similar to Steve Ross that you just brought up. If they don't succeed, he doesn't really have any reason to be loyal to Mike McCarthy other than he was the person who hired him. If Mike McCarthy and the Cowboys fail this year, Jerry's not getting any younger. We know how strongly he wants his team to win. If the Cowboys don't succeed, again, similar to Tua, Mike McCarthy's out of there.
Yeah, and 100% agree with you. He's not gonna. He just hasn't been a good coach, and I said it like we can see it in the offense, in the defense that it's not. It's like it's there, like the talent is there, but it's just not producing. So I mean, it's and that division hasn't been won by the same team twice in a row in how many years now? So honestly, it may be the Eagles' year. The Eagles added a
I'm pretty
lot of
big on them.
weapons. I like the Eagles to win that division this year.
That's a decent bet.
And I mean the Giants, I think after this year they would move off of Daniel Jones. I sorry, but he's going to be a backup for Kansas City next year.
That does sound right. So the Cowboys are very much in win now. Even though the team got worse, there is no excuses to be had for Mike McCarthy and the rest of the coaching staff. And part of that coaching staff, I can really see with Kellen Moore taking his job next year because he's a young, bright offensive mind. That's where the league's moving to. I can really see him losing his job to Kellen if the offense and the team as a whole doesn't succeed. Last person I want to talk about, I don't think he'll ever be fired. Before I say anything, I don't think he'd be fired. Now, he does have an impatient owner, so that checks a box. He hasn't succeeded really much in the last couple of years, checks a box. But he's Bill Belichick. He is Bill Belichick. So before I say anything, Bill Belichick isn't going to be fired. However, looking at the New England Patriots, last year they made the playoffs, of course. Hurrah, hurrah. Did absolutely nothing once they got there. They're what you're getting from the Patriots. And in years past, that would be, they're one of the best teams in football. Now they're a team with a limited quarterback, with no vertical weapons, a cookie cutter running game that kind of just plug somebody in. They don't really have a workhorse there. They don't have any good receivers. Offensive line's good. The defense is good. They lost like 6 or 7 starters, only replaced a couple of them, and they did not get better in any way. And Belichick, we've seen him more and more as years go on, get more and more stubborn. This year, we've seen that by them not hiring a defensive coordinator, not hiring an offensive coordinator, bring back Matt Patricia, the former defensive coordinator, to be on the offensive side of the ball, bring back a judge, again, to be on the offensive side of the ball as a quarterback's coach. Doesn't make any sense to me. So Bill Belichick, as he's getting older, getting more stubborn, if the results continue as they are, he might need to look towards retirement after the end of this season.
And I don't disagree with you. I did when I saw that name pop up on your list, I kind of was like, yo, like that's a good one. It's shocking, but it's a good one. Bill Belichick, obviously the second greatest coach of all time.
Stop it. He's the greatest coach of all time. Stop it.
I'm letting bias get
Fair
this
enough,
one.
as long as it's admitted.
But I mean, as you pointed out, Brady's done so much better than Bill has since the divorce. And it's like, well, was that part of it? I mean, if you look at the team over the last 20 years, it's been a major defensive team and with a great quarterback, legendary, best of all time, at the helm of the offense. And that offense was designed to, be cookie cutter. You plug anybody in anywhere and Brady will make it work. Mac Jones is not that guy.
So far, he has not been. That's for sure.
He needs the weapons. He had probably the greatest weapons of all time for college. Devontae Smith. He had Waddle before he got hurt. I mean, Jamison Williams. I mean,
John Mechie.
And I mean, you're talking about those are 4 guys in the top 40 picks. Like that's a lot of talent right there.
Yeah. Now he's throwing to Nelson Aguilar. They just got rid of N'Keal Harry.
They do have Devontae Parker, but how is he going to stay healthy? Like we know as Dolphin fans that Devontae Parker, when healthy, is a monster. And so far during training camp, I think I sent you this joke. Is like Devontae Parker looking sharp. He's getting touchdowns over the CBs, and it's like, well, what else is new? He torches the Pats CBs every time he plays them, and it's like that monstrous season he had in 2019. Like if Mac Jones can play like Fitzpatrick did, however, win games, then yeah, I mean but Parker pulls his hamstring every other game. So
yeah. The Belichick system is very rigid. We've seen the same thing year in, year out. They have Hunter Henry, who is their best offensive weapon. Jonnu Smith didn't really come over and be the hit that he was for a few years with Tennessee. They'd spent a lot of money last year. They got to the playoffs, first round exit 2 years ago. They're bringing Cam Newton. That experiment didn't work. Now you have Mac Jones, who, as Benchwarmer Brand loves to joke around, like that's Tom Brady's son. That's Tom Brady light. He has similar attributes, but Tom Brady's Tom Brady. You're moving into a league now that everything is so much more, everything's faster, everything's more athletic, everything's more dynamic. Look at all the offenses around. Look at just what the teams in the division have done. Miami, Tyreek Hill, drafted Jaden Waddle last year, bringing in those running backs, Edmonds, Mostert, offensive-minded head coach. Everything's going to be fast, quick. We're going to use speed to kill the opponents. The Jets, Elijah Moore, Garrett Wilson. Now Zach Wilson's going into his second year. CJ Uzomah, decent running back core, Breece Hall. They're going to be good. They're going to compete for third place in the division with the Patriots.
That's crazy.
Which is crazy. I'm praising the Jets right now because they've had back-to-back really good off seasons. We don't know whether they got the head coach right. That's still up in the air. We'll see him as now that he has a better team, whether he is the good coach there. But the Jets have added dynamic weapons, have a dynamic quarterback. Dolphins don't have a dynamic quarterback, but the weapons are just glorious. Patriots have none of that. They have a good offensive line. They have a good running game. Quarterback is very system oriented, and Bill Belichick. What's this going to be for the Patriots? They had some decent wins last year. They beat the Chargers, who's everybody's sweetheart. Everybody loves saying now they're going to be a Super Bowl favorite. We'll see whether Brandon Staley is actually a good coach and can actually put that all together for a late postseason run. They beat them. Bill Belichick, I am concerned that he has become a little stuck in his ways. We've seen that with so many coaches over sports history. Of course, Bob Knight and a bunch of other guys that once they come towards the end of their tenure, like thankfully Coach K didn't quite get that way. He adapted really well to like a one and done type player in college basketball. But Bill Belichick is getting stiff here, so it does kind of lead me to believe he's coming towards the end of his time as a coach.
Exactly. Like if you look at his offensive staff or just his staff in general, who's really innovative on that staff? They have the same guys that they had 10 years ago. Matt Patricia, Joe Judge. McDaniels just left to go to Oakland. So now the guy that was there for, 15 of the 20 seasons, past 20 seasons, he's gone.
Yeah. And Bill only hires what he knows. You have to check a box for Bill. Yeah. Did you play for him? That's the box. Are you related to him? Has 2 of his kids on his coaching staff? Checks a box. Or does he just generally like you? Apparently he liked McDaniels somehow. I don't know how that dynamic worked there.
You didn't get my joke.
I did not know.
The sticky tongue.
Yeah. So Belichick, he's so stiff and rigid. He doesn't want to work with people he doesn't like. I know this is this could easily be a nice sound clip, later on the season, because the Patriots do have an easy start to their season. If you look at their first
minus
games.
The first game.
Minus the first game, of course. Minus the first game. But they do have a decent run of things, so they could easily be like 6-2 halfway through the season. The back end of their schedule, though, is when things get really difficult. Playing the Bengals, the Ravens, having some more difficult matchups there. So Patriots, if they do have a rough season, there should be some conversations to be had in the room there.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, it's going to be tough for Bill to kind of get back to the top of the division, especially with you have a franchise quarterback with Josh Allen leading the division. I mean,
yeah, I didn't even talk about the Bills. I just talked about what the Bills and the Dolphins did.
Yeah, so you're talking about how the Bill might be in 3rd or 4th place. We're not even talking about how tough it'll be to climb to the first place. I mean, the Bills have had a top 3 defense each of the last 4 or 5 seasons. They had a top offense 2 of the last 2 seasons. And yeah, I mean, they lost their offensive coordinator, but there's not really many people talking about how much it'll affect Josh Allen to not have Brian Dable there anymore. I'm not sure how it'll work out.
I think he'll be fine.
I think he'll be fine. I think what really
He'll be
was
fine.
I think what the game changer was for Allen was when Stephon Diggs came over.
Yes.
And having that veteran receiver there to help out your quarterback, who he's been with mid quarterbacks pretty much his whole career before, and he helped Allen take that next step. Because like a lot of young quarterbacks, Allen had the talent, pure arm talent, athleticism, blah, 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 but he sucked his first year or two and then popped off when Diggs got there. There's a reason for that. I don't think that there's anything that the Bills have really done to help out Mac Jones, to help out their defense. I mean, their defense is going to get
They
tired.
lost quite a few starters They lost quite a few starters on the defensive end. Hightower leaves. I think actually Van Noy. I actually had my Hightower might stayed. JC Jackson left. They lost a few pieces, didn't replace them, and they didn't draft that well. They had quite a few suspect picks. Yeah, yeah.
With a third round pick picking
next best Patriots quarterback. You have the offensive lineman Cole Strange or something going first round. The Rams were like, well, there goes our third round guy.
Exactly. Like,
oh man, he's not going to be there.
I mean, knowing Bill, that guy's going to end up being a good
offensive lineman because that's the one thing they're consistent at is offensive line.
Offensive line and defense, they've been able to draft all over the board. I mean, they can literally plug in a corner. Like JC, he's been really good for them. However, he wasn't that way when he got there. He was what, a 4th or 5th round pick?
Something like that, yeah.
I mean, Stephon Gilmore, he wasn't all that coming out of college. You know?
Yeah. So Bill's got a lot to think about for this team because he did not really help them. He has pretty much all the decision-making power there in New England. He's got a lot of pressure going to this next season. McCarthy does, and of course, our boy Tua does going into next season, have a lot of pressure. Before we start the next subject, I have a text message I need to send out. So if you need to do anything, by all means, go ahead.
Yeah.
I got a text.
Oh, fuck.
What?
Syndergaard interests the Yankees.
Let's go, as you would say.
Fuck you is what I would say here, since we're in between. What text are you sending out?
The text mark. My team leader.
I like how Marcelo's like, I'm down. It's like, that wasn't really a question, more of a statement.
Yes, it was a statement. I saw a post related to Ronaldo. Now it went away. I'm just really scared about losing Ronaldo.
You're losing Ronaldo?
Yeah, Manchester United might be losing Ronaldo.
Wait, who?
Ronaldo.
Yeah, but what city? You said
Manchester United.
Really?
Yeah, because he wants to go because we didn't get Champions League football next year. Okay, so next we'll talk about the Dolphins.
I went a little rampant there for a little bit.
A little off subject, but it's okay.
It wasn't that bad. I reeled it back as soon as I realized where I was going.
It's okay. All right.
A little bit longer. Well, I mean, it wasn't too long.
No, you're good.
That second part was 20 minutes.
Was it? Yeah. Oh, we still got 2 more to go.
Well, 15, 20 minutes.
So the offseason, Dolphins made a lot of moves. You all get Teron Armstead, get your left tackle situated. Tyreek Hill, superstar wide receiver, Cedric Wilson, Connor Williams, Chase Edmonds, Raheem Mostert in the backfield. Bringing over a new head coach because apparently Brian Flores wasn't the guy. We'll see whether that was the right decision, whether Brian Flores eventually gets another head coaching job. But the Dolphins have really changed this roster. You went from one of the best defenses in the league and still able to maintain that. But then you spent one of the most money in the league on offense. Sport Tua, decided to stick with him over the head coach. So the Dolphins are going to look very different. They're going to look very exciting. We see that. Pretty much all the games are sold out now. The training camp sold out within a few days of those tickets going live. So the Dolphins are going to be exciting. They're going to be a lot offense oriented. But what should we go into the season as realistic expectations for this team? That's something that I'm kind of stuck in a little gray area about. We should definitely be in playoff contention 100%. And I do think we should end up making the playoffs, albeit in a very difficult AFC. But am I crazy for saying that it is kind of playoffs or bust, even though it is
a first-year head coach?
Yeah. Am I crazy for saying that?
No. You're talking about a team that has won back-to-back seasons, kept the same defensive coordinator, brought back every single person on defense besides Jason McCourty, added even more depth with Melvin Ingram. And then on the offensive side of the ball, like you pointed out, we shored up the offensive line with Armstead, brought in Connor Williams, who's playing center right now. But from what I've seen in the press conferences with Mike McDaniel is that he's saying that that's more of we want him to play left guard and center so he can play those positions if need be. So it's not really a sure thing that he's going to be at center. It's not really a sure thing he's going to be at left guard because he still has to compete with Kinley for left guard, still has to compete with Dieter for center. So given those aren't really hard guys to go against, but it's still a competition regardless. I mean, even Liam Eichenberg has the orange jersey on today.
Yeah, he did really well. Your brother, your twin, tell me they don't look alike. Look at a picture of Liam Eichenberg right now. Look at that face. Hopefully I zoomed in on him. Hopefully I remember to edit that. Tell me that's not Liam Eichenberg. Liam Eichenberg going to his second season, though. We saw the jump that Robert Hunt had from his first year to his second year. He did really well for us. He was really the one guy last year that like, okay, Robert Hunt, we need him to stay good. And then obviously add pieces around him. Teron Armstead is the juicy piece on the offensive line that is fantastic, good. You have him, you have Robert Hunt as pretty much the only guarantees for this team. Even Teron Armstead could get hurt, so that's something that he's dealt with a lot.
I'm not gonna wood.
Teron Armstead, you add Connor Williams. We don't know what position he's going to be, but the offensive line is certainly going to be better. You can't really get worse than 32nd rated passing offensive line, the least amount of time to throw for quarterbacks in the league when you look at both Brissett's numbers and Tua's numbers. You can't get much worse than that. And they've gone out added after let's say who's the left tackle for the 49ers? After him, that's when you start to argue Teron Armstead amongst a few other left tackles being like the best left tackle in the league. I can see your eyes going because you're still trying to think. And whatever.
I'll get off of that.
We'll figure it out later.
Yeah, we'll figure it out later. But also to add on to the fact of the offensive line, our offensive coordinator is actually the offensive line coach from the Chargers. And from what I saw on Twitter, a lot of the Chargers people were really upset about losing him. And, no one really knows their own coaches like their own fan base.
Especially when you look at those like lower end coaches. Obviously a head coach, we all know Brandon Staley's a smart guy, but I couldn't tell you what the Chiefs tight ends coach looks like.
Exactly. But I could tell you that the Dolphins DB coach last year, I thought he should have been the defensive coordinator this year. Like that's how, but we ended up letting him go because he supported Flores. So now we have Sam Madison and Patrick Surtain as our I apologize, as our DB and corners coaches.
Can't really argue with that. Bringing in two former players when you're bringing in a new coach, you have some guys that already know the culture, already know the team. Can't really argue with that decision.
No, not at all. I mean, Sam Madison's been coaching for years with Kansas City. And their corners, I mean, their names don't really pop off on the screen, but they're not bad. They don't really play bad. I mean, especially when you already have two of the best in the league, and Xavier Howard being top two corner, and then Byron Jones.
Unless you're talking about Madden.
Unless you're talking about Madden, screw Madden. And then Byron Jones, I put him still somewhere in the top 12. He's not really going to jump off the screen, but he's going to get a lot of pass breakups. He has that track star speed, so he'll catch up to you if you run past him. Happens a little bit more than I'd like, but he got his knee cleaned up, so he should be better this year, I think. Even going back to our third DB, Nick Needham, I mean.
Don't you dare bring up Noah Benogany.
Oh, I'm going to.
I see the tracker going down, just going over a whole defensive back unit. I know eventually the name Noah Benogany is going to come out of your mouth, and you're going to say something that I incredibly disagree with.
So Nick Needham,
very good.
Arguably one of the best slot corners in the league.
Did we give him a 3-year or a 2-year?
2-year deal, I believe.
Okay.
Might have been one actually, but I really like Nick Needham. He deserves to be paid more, to be quite honest. I'm glad we were able to get him on a discount. And then, competing for the fourth spot, we have True Williams and Noah Bignagany.
Give me some Trill.
True Williams has the only interception so far of training camp, given we're 3 days in. But Noah Bignagany, he's also looked really sharp so far. We did see him in one game last year where he got mossed multiple times. However, he had pretty good coverage on those passes. He just, got outplayed for the ball.
Just like he has so many times in his career to this point.
His rookie year, he was absolute garbage. I did say that. I said he has potential, and he's young. He was 20 when he got drafted. Now he's 22. He's still really young, really going to be susceptible to bringing in knowledge. And so far during camp, he's had really good coverage over Tyreek Hill, Waddle. He's had good coverage. He had a really good pass breakup in the first day, and then today he also had a really good one. He's also, gotten burnt, but that's part of the process.
He has so many times, but I don't want to.
We're not going to get stuck on that.
I don't want to sit here and talk bad about Dolphins players. I do want to focus on the good, and there's a lot, because we've maintained the defense. We kept the defensive coordinator, which was already part of a top 10 defense. Kept, like you just said, all the pieces except for McCourty and Justin Coleman. I think we also
Coleman we re-signed, but but he's not going to be competing for the top. The fourth spot's either going to go to Trill or Noah, either whichever one isn't going to be.
Point is, defense, which is already a fantastic part of the team, something that really we leaned on a lot last year, especially in that winning streak. You maintain all those pieces. You re-sign Ogba. Jalen Phillips is only going to continue to develop. X, of course, is X, one of the best players in the league. Could have been defensive player of the year 2 years ago.
Should have been.
But the offense, which I already have brought up, but really it is the difference maker. You are one game away from a playoff position 2 years in a row.
2 years. You
bring in a completely different ideal for this team now. You go from a really rigid and methodical and just not very creative offense, which it was
really limited.
At one point, it was with Chad O'Shea and Ryan Fitzpatrick. It was a decent offense.
It was really pass heavy, but that was just Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Caleb Ballage wasn't going to be your workhorse.
Was he even on the team that year?
I don't remember.
I think it was Kenyon Drake, for most of the season until he got traded. No, Kenyon Drake got traded 26, whatever. So
it wasn't good, basically.
It wasn't a good. I think Gaskin was actually our number one back, and then Ahmed was our number two. And now Gaskin's our number 4, and Ahmed's our number 5.
Yeah, both are potential cut candidates, because you bring in also Sonny Michel, who's won a Super Bowl before. He's not like
2.
He's 2. Yes. Yeah, because he also won last year with the Rams. I was thinking back to the Patriots days. You have a Super Bowl winning running back who is he was a starting running back in the Super Bowl, probably going to be your third string running back. You bring in Mostert and Chase Edmonds, which provides so much in offense. Chase Edmonds, good pass catching back. Mostert, speed. You get him on the edge. You get him into space. He is flying. We picked up Matt Breida a few years ago because he lost the job to Raheem Mostert. Obviously, Breida didn't do anything for us, but Mostert is the guy that took his spot. And if not for injuries, Mostert was the starting back last year in San Francisco. Of course, he lost it out to Elijah Mitchell once he got the injuries. He's fantastic. Edmonds, the two of them in the backfield, great. We don't even need to speak really on Tyreek Hill. We have a top 5 wide receiver in the game. And if you look at his game with the Chiefs, it really wasn't a lot of go routes.
Yeah.
It was underneath. Here's the ball, Tyreek, do something.
People mistake his role in Kansas City. I believe it was a stupid amount of numbers where he actually caught the ball under 15 yards.
Yeah, most of his routes.
I believe it was like 70% or even something more of his catches were caught within 15 yards of the line of scrimmage. That is a ridiculous amount of numbers for how many yards he gets. That's just how quick he is off the line, how he can get open quickly, get the ball, and turn upfield. And he's also like people talk about when Patrick Mahomes scrambles, like that's Tyreek Hill can, get open and be the guy or whatever, or just go on a go route and Tua can't throw that ball. Maybe he doesn't need to. If Tua can hit him on that first 15 yards,
yeah.
I mean, and who's going to guard Hill, Waddle, and Gesicki? We haven't even talked about Gesicki.
Yeah, Gesicki, we have no idea what Gesicki's role is going to be in this offense because the tight ends have been so block heavy in the Shanahan offense. And yeah, we haven't seen Mike McDaniel call plays ever, so we don't know what his style specific is going to be. But we know what the tight ends look like in that offense. And Gesicki doesn't fit that mold per se. Durham Smythe, I think, could have a pretty decent year. Now, I don't want to say
he's actually signed to I think it was a 2 or 3 month extension.
He's not like the X factor for the team or he's a difference maker, but Durham Smythe is a guy that can be used a lot now because he has obviously great blocking ability. We saw him more and more integrated into the offense last season. We also saw him take some QB sneaks. Like we saw some things with Durham Smythe that lead me to believe he can have a role on this team. Gesicki, I'm not sure what it is going to be, but we know this offense is going to be better. No matter how you paint it, this offense is going to be a lot better than it's been under the entirety of the Flores regime. Flores, defensive minded, special teams oriented. A lot of our big plays were on defense and special teams, a lot of fake punts, a lot of this and that. Now we have the offense that we hope we can rely on. There is no reason we shouldn't make the playoffs. Eventually, you have to kick the training wheels off. And like last couple of years, you're like, we're developing, we're getting better. If we made the playoffs, it'd be nice. And no, eventually you have to improve. And we have certainly improved in every aspect. Quarterback, up to be determined whether he has improved in the strides he has needed to. Coach appears to be improvement. Offense, without a doubt, improvement. Defense is going to maintain. So if the Dolphins don't at least make a wild card team this year, it is a disappointment to me.
100%. And yeah, it is a tough AFC with the AFC West being stacked. However, they're probably going to knock each other out with having to play each other, twice. So you're going to play 3 of the best teams in the AFC twice. That's a ridiculous amount. And then, of course, besides that, your only real competition outside of the AFC West would be between Tennessee and the Colts. And I think one is going to falter and then the other one's going to succeed like it has been for the past.
Yeah. Nobody from that division is going to be a wild card team. The Ravens could be a wild card team, depending on the Browns, depending on Watson's suspension, depending on our boy Jacoby Brissett.
I was counting on the Browns being out and the Ravens winning the division because I don't think Watson's going to play.
Well, with the Bengals. Yeah.
I did forget about the Bengals. So the Bengals and the Ravens are going to be.
There's a few teams in the mix for the wild card, like you just mentioned, of course, out west, whoever the second and third place teams in the division, even the Raiders, who if we sat this point last offseason, we wouldn't have been talking about the Raider retention in the playoffs. And they were, and they did get better. They actually have a head coach now. They have a star wide receiver who hopefully isn't going to kill somebody on the Las Vegas Strip. And then you move into the rest of the divisions. Ravens, at least the most injured team in the league last year. Browns, who knows? Steelers, again, didn't expect to be in the conversation, still made the playoffs. Patriots within our own division made the playoffs, didn't get much better, but they are the Patriots. There is a lot to go around. There are a lot of art. A dark horse team could be the Jaguars. If everything clicks there, Trevor Lawrence, I expect one day to be a top 5 quarterback still, even though a lot of people have kind of sold their stock on him. I am by no means selling my stock on him. I
sold half my stock.
I am buying more. Like, if you look at his game film from the end of last season, he made clear strides from the first half of the season with a horrible head coach. No other way to put it other than he had a horrible coach, horrible situation, toxic environment, and he still made the necessary strides you want to see in a rookie quarterback, even if the team isn't winning. There is so much in the AFC, but we are too. We're there too. We are a great team. We have a great roster, and If it's not playoffs, I'm going to be disappointed going into this season.
I might get rid of my season tickets if we don't make the playoffs.
Well, there's a line now. There
is a wait list now.
It's close. They are close to being sold out on season tickets for the entirety of this year.
I wonder how many teams can actually say that about their team and not have without winning a playoff game in the last 10 years, let alone the last 20.
Yeah, no, probably not. Like teams that definitely sell it every year now. Like there's obviously the Chiefs, the Cowboys, the Packers. Like there's a decent amount of teams that are for sure there, and the Dolphins are knocking on that door. But first, we need to see the results. Then the excitement can really fully, truly flow.
And going back a little bit, I know going back actually it's a lot of it, but Mike Gesicki, I think his role in the offense is actually going to be more as a slot receiver. I think he's going to be playing more in the slot and taking reps away from Cedric Wilson. I think that's what his role is going to be because, like you said, in Mike McDaniel or Shanahan's offense, it was a lot of blocking tight ends, and that's why Gesicki, his snap count wasn't high last year. I think he only played like 44% of the offensive snaps. That's not good for a top 5 tight end. And Durham Smythe, he got more reps. I mean, obviously, because he can block better. And that was the thing when they were both drafted in the second round. They were drafted together in the second round. Gesicki was the pass catcher. Smythe was the blocker.
I think Smythe was a 4th rounder. Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. But they were drafted together, and that's pretty much what the narrative was. That we drafted the blocking tight end, we drafted the pass catching tight end, and that way we can use them. However, like
still Hunter Long there, who we don't expect a lot from. They said that he's made some strides, yeah, but like you're not banking your season on him.
Yeah, no. His one highlight play last year made Tua look like an idiot. So
pick 6, yeah, because he wouldn't come back to the ball on the comeback route. Yeah, really made that Jets game a lot more uncomfortable than it should have been. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like we've pretty much covered everything so far with the Dolphins. I mean, it's just we expect them to do something and make it exciting. Like they talked about how they're gonna yak the hell out of teams, and I expect them to. I mean, Waddle and Hill, they're yards after catch guys. I mean, Waddle, he had his air catch yards, I guess you can call, were like one of the lowest in the league last year, and he had one of the top 3 amount of catches.
He broke the rookie reception record, which says a lot on a bad offense.
Given that was also set by Landry.
Yeah, well, no, it was Anquan Bolden.
No, Landry broke Anquan Bolden.
Are you sure? I'm pretty sure it was Anquan Bolden. I think Jarvis finished just below Anquan Bolden.
Maybe it was.
Yeah. In a bad offense where Tua, had his question marks around and there was nobody else to there's nobody else to take coverage away. He really succeeded. It is this off topic as a fantasy aspect. It is really weird to try to determine what it's going to look like. I expect both receivers to succeed, but that offense now is so good. It's complete opposite end of the spectrum. Before you have Jalen Waddle, like nobody else is taking passes away, but there's also nobody else to cover on the field. Now it's the complete opposite. It's like you have people taking touches away, but they can't double team them ever because you have Hill on the other side, Gesicki, backfields. You have everything. You have so much going on, especially if you spread that offense out.
And if you really want to get deep into it, I mean, beyond Cedric Wilson, we still have some pretty decent receivers. Competing for the 4th, 5th, and 6th spots, we have Mohamed Sanu now, who just signed with the Dolphins, Preston Williams, Lynn Bowden, and then we have my guy from Texas Tech, who I actually wanted the Dolphins to pick. I can't pronounce his last name.
I was about to say, I hope you try to pronounce it because
I'm not gonna try to pronounce his last name
or something.
I'm gonna call him Easy.
Easy. We'll go with that.
But Easy, he's pretty much a lock for the number 4, but he was solid. I think he could be a really good asset. I think Lynn Bowden, if we go with 6 receivers, is a lock for the roster because he looked so good with Tua in his rookie year. And then last year he didn't play, obviously, because of his hamstring injury. But then this offseason, he's been working nonstop with Tua. So that chemistry is there, it's built up. That's why if they carry 6 people on the roster, I think he's a lock for number 5. And it really comes down to Sanu and Preston Williams for number 6. And however, if it doesn't go down, I think if they only do 5, I think Bowden goes because they want the height. Because you don't have the height with Hill, you don't have the height with Waddle.
There's no big body.
There's not a big body go up and catch at receiver besides Gesicki.
Yeah.
And really, you want 1 or 2 of those on your roster, preferably 2. And Preston Williams hasn't really done anything since his rookie year, but he showed flashes his rookie year of being able to go up and just snag a ball, like Devontae Parker, but taller and faster. But
a questionable work ethic.
Questionable work ethic. I mean, I did look at his Twitter, and he was modeling in Miami for a swimsuit fucking thing, excuse my language, a couple weeks ago. And I'm like, it's like, I want to see the unicorn going. That's his thing, by the way.
Yeah, that was a little sus.
He's that's it. That's his emoji. So, you got cheetah, you got the snowman with Holland. But yeah, and we didn't even talk about Holland. But yeah, I expect him to compete, and I think that's why they kind of brought Sanu in, is to push.
Yeah. All good signs, all a lot to like from this Dolphins team, and hopefully we can actually have some happiness by the time January rolls around next year with the Dolphins. Last thing we'll get to for today is preseason's upon us. We have all these training camps that have just started, and there is quite a few storylines to be intrigued about before the season starts. First of which we can't really answer the question yet. We know that the 49ers have officially moved off of Jimmy Garoppolo. Mike Shanahan said this in their press conference. That means they're moving on to Trey Lance. Trey Lance, somebody who they gave up 3 first-round picks for in a deal with Miami. And we will start to see very soon whether Trey Lance was worth those 3 first-round picks. I am a Trey Lance believer. He has a lot to build around, but there is a reason why he didn't play last year. There were some whispers about him not being ready yet. We could argue whether that was just to try to increase Garoppolo's trade value or not. But I really am intrigued whether Trey Lance will end up being the guy in San Francisco.
I mean, they drafted him thinking that he could be the next Mahomes. Like that was his pro comp, was Mahomes. Like, he was really raw, and Shanahan can take that year with Garoppolo and just build his mind and build how he wants Trey Lance to play. So was it worth 3 first-round picks? That is yet to be determined.
Yeah.
I don't think he was worth 3.
If you get your franchise quarterback, I'll give up whatever, because quarterback, we know how important that is. We know as Dolphin fans how important that is. Tua, not quite been the guy yet. Dolphins not quite made the playoffs yet. Trey Lance, if he ends up being your starting quarterback for the next, just 10 to 12 years, it's worth 3 first-round picks. He has the athleticism. He has the arm, which is very comparable to Patrick Mahomes, which you just brought up. Can he put it together, though? Because Daniel Jones has those too. Daniel Jones is a fantastic runner, except for when he trips over the 30-yard line. He has a cannon of an arm, but he sucks.
But also the thing
is, he was the 6th overall pick.
So with that, if you're going to compare him to Daniel Jones as well, Daniel Jones, I don't think he has the IQ to put it, the football IQ to really go out there, read a defense correctly, and do it. Yeah. Now, Patrick Mahomes, he said he didn't know how to read a defense until like halfway through his second year.
That's scary.
That's kind of like how much arm talent and just pure athleticism do you have to be able to do that? I don't think Trey Lance has that it. I think he does have a good head on his shoulders. So I think he could go and potentially be like a Josh Allen type, where he could suck at first and then slowly get better, especially once he's able to practice with Debo. Right now, Debo is at practice. However, he's doing individual workouts and individual drills until he gets his contract issue resolved, which the 49ers are hopeful. They obviously did not trade him like he requested. and what just came up actually in a memory was of last year when Xavier Howard requested a trade from the Dolphins. So I'm hoping
Forgot about that.
Yeah, that kind of gave me a mini heart attack because someone retweeted it, and I'm like, no, not again. And then I saw this in 2021. I'm like, oh, thank. But they're hoping it's going to be like a situation like that where they're able to resolve it.
You need that wide receiver to help out your quarterback. We see with so many young quarterbacks nowadays that Trey Lance has his Debo, still has Mike Shanahan, a really good offense around him. He could succeed, but that's something that we will have to wait till the preseason games and beginning of the season to see. Something that we will likely get an answer for before the season starts is what's going on in Carolina. Who's going to be the star between Baker, Sam Darnold? We see the fans at the training camp chanting for Baker as Sam Darnold's walking right next to the guy. Like,
that's so disrespectful.
Feel really bad for him. But then they actually went into the training and Sam Darnold outplayed him. And Sam Darnold Sam Darnold on paper has a lot more to like, has a good arm. He's athletic. He's not controversial. He sees ghosts. So that's that. But
a little controversial.
That's not necessarily controversial, but Sam Darnold isn't the favorite. However, first day he went out, performed Baker. He's a lot more likable of a guy. So I will be very intrigued as to who is going to win out that starting spot. Who do you think is ultimately going to do that?
Honestly, I think it's Baker's job to lose. Sam Darnold had a year in that system, so he's been there. Baker's been there, what, a week? He hasn't learned the playbook. He hasn't learned the playbook yet. So Darnold's been there a whole year, had a whole other offseason with them and that staff. Nothing's really changed on that staff from last year to this year. And I think that it's really Baker's job to lose. If he doesn't go in the film room and study, we'll get to that later. But if he doesn't, get a good head back on his shoulders and work for the job, then, it's Sam Darnold. I mean, he's obviously motivated. He went out there and proved it by throwing 5 touchdowns in the second day of practice. And meanwhile, I think he went 11 of 16 for, I didn't see the yardage, but it was 5 touchdowns and no interceptions. And Baker went 9 of 16 and no pads with an interception and no touchdowns. So given they might have different playbooks for each one, like, okay, Baker, you're not really the go route. Like, you don't have that arm to just throw over the top.
But he does. Last year he had the longest throw just in terms of air yardage in the league.
Was it him?
Yeah, it wasn't a completion, but it was the longest.
Oh, the largest throw. I think I was going to say it wasn't the largest completion actually too.
I don't know, but no, Baker has talent. He has the arm. He's not athletic whatsoever.
I don't think he has as strong as arm as I think he's definitely more accurate than Sam, but I think Sam has a bigger arm.
I don't think that's true. I think Baker still does have the stronger arm, and that is one of the reasons why the fans love him so much, is because that looks cool. That looks cool on film when you can hit a deep pass, but we all know who Baker is, and who does the coaching staff trust? The guy who was there last year, led them to a 3-0 start, crumbled at the end of the year, or this new guy, Baker Mayfield, same draft class, a little bit of a head case. Both are like a 1-year type situation. I'm really intrigued to see who wins out that battle. Last preseason storyline. What's going on in Arizona? So Kyler Murray signs his extension. Cardinals fans, woo! Our guy got him over the line.
Ian Rappaport comes in.
There's was until the entire world bullied the Cardinals out of it, requiring Kyler Murray 4 hours of study time, like he's a freaking teenager in high school, before he can play video games. Which kind of ironic, video games are involved because of him being a part of FaZe Clan and the gaming team they have there. Kyler Murray was originally required to have 4 hours of study time a week, part of the contract.
A day.
No, it was 40 minutes a day, which equates to 4 hours total of a week in preparation to each of their games. I was funny. I was joking around with Zach at work yesterday. It's like he's gonna be watching game film from 2008. He's like, wow, this Ray Lewis guy is really good.
Did you see the Benchwarmer brand thing on him yet?
I don't think so.
Oh, you gotta watch it. what was it? That has the Cardinals knocking on the door. Hey, are you watching film? And he's like, yeah. And they open the door and it's Tamba Ali on the screen. It's like a Google image. And he's like, why do you have a Google image of Tamba Ali? Oh, we're playing the Chiefs week 1.
Close enough.
Well, that's not film. And then he looks up Tamba Ali highlights and he's like, Tamba Ali's been retired for 5 years.
I can't believe it's been really that bad with Kyler. I mean, we can see the Cardinals as a whole kind of have there is a underlying problem. Kyler has his limitations. Literally, he is limited in height, can't see over the freaking offensive line. They just gave him $230 million. Cliff Kingsbury so quickly went from coach of the year to hot seat last year, which he went into last season on the hot seat, quickly rose to coach of the year and quickly pulled himself out of that conversation. You're in the second hardest division of football. The West is really hot, both AFC and NFC. 49ers and Rams played in the NFC Championship last year. You don't get much crazier than that. That's your bar. NFC Championship is your bar because your 2 other division mates, they got there.
And one of them won the Super Bowl.
And that one demolished you Monday Night Football first week of the playoffs. So what's Arizona going to look like? Are they going to be the same team that crumbles? And yes, this isn't something that we can determine in preseason, but there's been so much around this team that like we got to talk about them in the preseason because there's been so much happening. Are they going to be this team that succeeds for 6-7 weeks and then crumbles, or are they finally going to be able to put stuff together and go forward into the playoffs and actually win a game at least?
Yeah, and do something on a consistent basis. But also, was the end of the season crumble because they didn't have Chase Edmonds or DeAndre Hopkins? They were both out at the end of last season.
Yeah, there's definitely aspects to it, but we've seen it 3 years in a row now that after week 10, the Cardinals are combined 7-20. That's awful. By any stretch of the imagination, that is a terrible statistic, no matter what team you are. So they have a lot to prove. They started to prove it last year, and then they just dug themselves in a hole. I expect them to be better. Once DeAndre Hopkins comes back from a 6-game suspension, they brought over Marquise Brown from the Ravens. They lose Edmonds. James Conner goes into year 2 with the team. However, he's had his injury issues. He didn't have a single game above 100 yards last year.
He had a lot of touchdowns.
He had a lot of touchdowns, 16 touchdowns leading running backs, which is pretty big.
He got all the red zone carries, and Edmonds got everything else. That was kind of
him and Kyler. Kyler got a few rushing touchdowns too himself. Don't forget. Yeah. So and Kyler did get hurt.
He is a Kyler got hurt, and JJ Watt also got hurt. We're not talking about their defense. I mean, Budda Baker had that nasty injury as well. That knocked him out for like 2-3 games.
They lost Chandler Jones to the Raiders.
I did not. I forgot about that.
I forgot about it too until the exact moment I just said it.
That is crazy. I forgot about that. There's been so many big offseason. This is probably the craziest offseason in NFL history. And we talked about this before, but yeah, it's just it's insane. That defense, like, did they really get better? Did they get worse?
No, they got worse. The offense got better. The defense got worse.
And JJ Watt is there, but he hasn't played a full season in how long?
Has he ever?
Since his MVP season.
Yeah, that's about it. Yeah, it would have been one defensive player of the year. There's a lot going on in Arizona. There's a lot to like, but when you have the division that you do, like we're talking about the Cowboys with Mike McCarthy being on the hot seat, they have a lot of wiggle room. They have a lot of room to not be perfect and still win their division. If the Cardinals have that same, if the Cardinals are in that same position where they're like, oh, we can afford to not take things as serious, we can have some wiggle room. If they try to have that mentality, they'd be third in their division. They were second in their division last year. I almost said again, but they're in the position where if they drop below the 49ers, even if they make the playoffs, you're looking at Cliff Kingsbury like, what's going on? But I still expect them to be very good. So I'm very intrigued as to what happens with them the rest of the offseason because they've been really noisy. Kyler Murray, archiving every single Cardinals post he's ever posted, which was absolutely hilarious. That must have took a long time to do. They've been really noisy. I still expect them to be really good. Panthers, Sam Darnold, Baker Mayfield, what's going to go on there? And I forgot the first one. What was it?
Trey Lance.
Trey Lance. Is he going to be worth it? I think so, but really We
Who
can't.
knows?
We'll find that out as time goes on. But
Yeah.
they have officially moved on. We'll see what happens with Jimmy Garoppolo because he still has to find a home too.
What's the best team for Jimmy at this point? Because Carolina already has a quarterback. I mean,
You want
on
to know?
Browns,
New York.
Jets,
Giants.
Giants have been in the conversation a lot recently, actually.
I really don't want to hear it, but
I think Jimmy G will fit really well there. Obviously, the Seahawks, they haven't been a part of trading for any QB outside of Drew Lock. I was a Drew Lock believer at one point. I kind of lost that from me, but they're clearly trying to not win games. I mean, given they're not taking, it's going to be kind of like the Dolphins in 2019. They're not purposely losing games, but they're not making their roster any better.
but they also have a 70-year-old head coach.
And I don't know how you trust him with a full rebuild. We talked about this before.
I don't trust him with a full rebuild.
We talked about that before. I don't trust him. You don't trust him. He should be retired with Bill.
He should, but he's not. That is a possible landing spot for Garoppolo. But Trey Lance definitely the guy there, and I'm so excited for football. I'm so excited for football.
I can't wait.
Like I've had this itch for like 2 months now, and it's more and more becoming real. Like guys are getting hurt.
Ryan Jensen just
multiple
went
months.
down. What was it? Someone got hurt at another practice and sprained their MCL, and
That's when you know football's real. The injuries are back.
yeah, and I believe it was the Jets. Someone defensive on the Jets sprained their MCL, and they're going to be out for like 6 weeks or something.
Football hasn't started until somebody gets hit and they're out for the season in week 1.
Yeah.
So until someone tears their ACL week 1. But we're going to call it there. Donovan's been fun having you on the show. A lot of good conversations we just had.
Appreciate you.
Really can't wait for our fantasy football draft. That's even more so.
That's going to be.
It feels almost more so than football. Like I'm really looking forward to that. And then once football starts, I'm sure I'll get more into the football.
Yeah, and then I can't wait for my matchups with certain teams, so I can absolutely demolish them and just shut them up.
Oh,
forever.
that's gonna be good. Especially I saw the text Tyrell just sent. So that's not just, but like 10 minutes ago sent.
Oh,
yeah.
What was it?
Something about just nobody caring. But yes, thank you, Donovan, for joining us. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Maybe I'll for once actually upload this on Spotify. I'm really bad at doing that.
I mean, YouTube's where it's at.
Yeah, so. YouTube, and they don't even see this part on YouTube. So the only me talking right now, the only people that might hear it is if I actually post it on Spotify. So hi or not.
Hi or not. I mean, you can still trim it down.
I do, but it takes forever for that to render.
Really?
Yeah, it takes forever to when I edit.
You might want to think about getting a is it your internet or just the processing of it?
It's just the processing of it.
Because then it's just your computer then.
Yeah.
Because if I do it on my computer, if it's just the processing minus the internet, then it'll probably go pretty fast because my computer's made for that shit.
Okay, well, that's something we can figure out afterwards. But thank you, everybody, for listening in. If you're still listening, thank you for watching over on YouTube. We should have like 4 or 5 videos that we've made out of this. So thank you for coming on, Donovan. Thank you, everybody, for listening. If you haven't, please make sure to like our videos, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Hope everybody has a great rest of your day. Take care, everybody.
Take care.